decisions recently yesterday, which, gutted affirmative action and got rid of Biden's debt, education debt, which was kind of useless anyway, right? And it did all kinds of horrible things. And everybody is upset, as they should be. I mean, the Supreme Court is corrupt, especially like Alito and Thomas are just retrograde. They should be at Gitmo, right? The Supreme Court's corrupt. It's odious. It's bigoted. It's racist. All that shit is true. But what I want to talk about today isn't that, because equal responsibility. And the way I look at things, I was raised this way, both culturally and politically. Friends who do nothing to help you are probably worse than enemies who harm you, right? Martin Luther King's famous line, long after the angry words of our enemies are forgotten, we'll remember the silence of our allies, right? Equal responsibility for this current reign of terror. And we're talking about everything that's happened really since 2017 onward. Equal, if not more responsibility, belongs to Ruth Bader Ginsburg's narcissism for refusing to leave, the Democrats' cowardice for refusing to talk to her, to put pressure on her, but even more for the corporatist Democrats, whose program really consists of little more than screaming hysterically, the GOP is fascist, there's going to be a coup, right? And I'm not talking about just Democrats. We're talking about like the lead political writer for Counterpunch, right? The vapid Paul Street, right? People like that. It's all over the place, right? You see that all the time. Had Hillary Clinton gotten off her ass and campaigned in Michigan and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, wherever else, instead of partying in the Hamptons and attacking the, what did she call it, a basket of deplorables, insulting them in between those multi-million-dollar speeches she was making at Goldman Sachs and everywhere else on Wall Street. If she had taken that seriously, if Bill Clinton and Obama hadn't just taken care of Wall Street banks rather than people who had lost their homes during the housing crash in 2008, very few people got home relief, whereas the banks, TARP relief was, widespread. Had the Democrats gone to Youngstown, I use Youngstown up close to here, but it's, the media likes to use Youngstown. It's a nice little way of explaining, the Rust Belt in America. But if the Democrats had gone to Youngstown and listened to those displaced workers there, instead of just shoving NAFTA down their throats or up their ass or whatever, right? Had they fought the GOP when it decided to steal a Supreme Court seat, and when you do some research on Dick Durbin's role in that, whenever you hear about the Republicans won't let these judges' votes come out, a lot of that's because of Dick Durbin and the Democrats. There are ways to do that, and they don't. Hillary Clinton ran the most entitled, dismal, horrific, condescending campaign in U.S. history, and she owns this whole shit show, really as much as anybody does. A half century now of Democratic alarm about it's the most important election of our lives, and the GOP is so much worse, and you have to vote for the Democrats no matter who because Trump is so evil, right? Trump he's that bad. No, but amid all of these hysterics, what is the Democratic response? They're currently looking at this addled old man who just the other day said, well, I'm a Catholic, so I don't believe in abortion, but the law should, it should be legal. That's a hell of a guy you want leading into battle, right? So they're looking at this addled old guy whose numbers are in the toilet in the 40s, low 40s at best, who broke a railroad strike, who hasn't lifted a finger for East Palestine, let alone Flint or Jackson or a million other places, who's more concerned about throwing mega billions at Ukraine rather than fixing all these crises at home, who takes care of bankers and big medical corporations, and deciding that he should be the only candidate, again, is just, you can bitch all you want about the GOP, but you got to deal with that first. And the only card at the end of the day they play is Trump is dangerous, and then they insult all the Trump supporters. Many of them are racist, many of them are scary people, right? But, Trump is also losing support. There are people out there who, have kind of had enough, and sitting around making fun of them, calling them deplorables, taking pictures of them at Walmart is just, it's condescending. It's stupid, it's counterproductive, and it doesn't do anything. At some point, you need to hold your own accountable, because the ugly, angry hatred of the GOP is condemnable, but the silence, the surrender of the Democrats, to me, is actually worse. And so that's my 4th of July rant today.
Can I throw in on that rant too?
Yeah, absolutely.
I also want to say how I think the sort of coastal elites, the corporate liberals, have also completely just given up on rural America, and which is probably what they would consider to be the breadbasket of deplorables. But these are people who benefit from policies that the Democrats have passed: healthcare, Medicare, Social Security, things like that. I mean, you're living in rural America. You're probably way further down the income line than people who live in New York or California. Up through the 90s, through both of Bill Clinton's elections, West Virginia was a more reliably Democratic state than California. Trump now leads Biden in West Virginia by 40 something points, and the Democrats have just abandoned rural America, rural states like West Virginia, and I think that's important to note. And they should, the Democrats supporting programs that benefit the poor and working people. They should be in double digits in all of these areas, all these states. The Republicans, I mean, they wage culture wars, but they do it so they don't have to explain why they cut taxes on the wealthiest part of the country. And so it's just like an important thing to note. And the Democrats, who also support cutting taxes on the wealthiest part of the country, maybe that's what it is, but it's just a shame.